Howdy, partners. You're listening to Conversations with Jacob, hosted by my good friend, Jacob Waller. Make sure to check out the podcast where podcasts are available and check out the video version on YouTube. You can follow us on social media. Facebook is Conversations with Jacob. Twitter is at CWJ Podcast. And you can visit our website, conversationswithjacobpodcast.weebly.com. Hey, you got a show idea? Maybe a guest suggestion? Email us at conversationswithjacob@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Jacob Waller.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Jacob. We got a good episode lined up for you, but that's every week. Of course, you heard Jake Thorne on the intro. He gave you the social media and the email and website, so there's no need for me to go into that detail. But I do want to plug another podcast. It's Two Chairs No Waiting. Two Chairs No Waiting is an Andy Griffith fan podcast. It's hosted by Adam Newsom. You can check it out at twochairsnowaiting.com and also on YouTube. By the way, upcoming guest here on the podcast next week is Bob Ross, not the painter, but this guy is a medical kind of person. Also, was on the 5th of February. It's the Spy Guy, and we're talking Elvis and YouTube. And on February the 12th, it's Smokey and the Bandit, the ultimate tribute guys, will be on the podcast. And today, and joining me is Mr. Dave Kenney from Emergo Academy. Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Jacob, I feel like, first of all, thank you, but I feel like I stepped in Back to the Future. You got a John Wayne intro. You're talking about Andy Griffith next week. Then you throw in, what was the last tidbit you threw in? And
the Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit with Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields, and then I'm looking at you, and you've already showed me some of your Elvis swag. I feel like I've hit the mother load. I'm back to the future here.
Yeah, well, it seems like it. So, and how are you doing today, Dave?
I'm outstanding. I'm great. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to having a fun conversation and a rich conversation with you today, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, of course. Now, for the people that's watching and also listening, can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Oh, a little bit about myself. Well, I'll just start with I'm the co-founder of Emergo Academy, and Emergo Academy is an online community for everything and anything in the world of recovery. Substances, behavior, anything where somebody wants better in their life. So that's what I currently do. And we'll dive into that a little bit more. What else can you know from me? I come from a family of educators. My father was a great educator. And really, I guess, I wouldn't have given this to him in my teen years, but in my later years, had a dramatic impact in shaping who I am today, in wanting to give to people, wanting to impact people. And really, that's where I find great value every day, Jacob, is making a difference in people's lives. And I believe in greatness, probably from my father, but I do believe we all have greatness in us. Even though we're struggling at times, there's still greatness there. I like to help people find that because nothing is better than a big comeback story.
Oh, absolutely. Now, and how did Emergo Academy come about?
Well, Emergo Academy came about as I was working at a private school. I'm an educator by trade, bachelor's, master's of ed. And I was working at a private school, saw good kids struggling. It was about 2007, probably 2008. And they were struggling with academic challenges, which we all know about, learning challenges, but then behavioral challenges. And then the weekend making, substance abuse choices. Then we saw mental health issues, like starting for the first time in the late 2000s, starting to really become more aware of it. And a large population of the student body were struggling. And I used to hypothesize, by the way, Jacob, this is just a thought. Why can't we change a brain? At the time we were landing things on rovers on Mars. And I thought, God, if we could fix a kid's brain, can we fix their life? Can we change your life? Can we change the trajectory of where they're at? And then later that year, I was touring for the school, recruiting students. And by the way, this is how hard I party on when I'm on the road. Friday night, I was by myself after an event and watching public TV. And a guy named Dr. Daniel Amen came on and began to really formulate this hypothesis into true science, which is change. He presented a book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. So we can talk about that for a weekend straight. Change your brain means we can change our brain, but if we do change our brain, we can change our life. And that's where I sat up and went, oh my God. And it's the only time I ever ordered anything from PBS. I ordered everything they had, ordered everything about Dr. Daniel Amen. And that was the beginning of this journey that I've been on. And it's not a career or a job. This is a vocation for me. And I know more about brain science than my high school teachers could ever believe now. So that's kind of the foundation of this, which is believing in greatness in people, even when they were struggling. And I hypothesized, can we impact somebody's brain? Can we impact their life? The answer is yes.
Now, and how many people have you helped change their brain and then change their life?
Well, the foundation of that ended up, I left the private school. I was executive director of a teen program, and we presented this methodology, and they wanted to stay in the medication world, and that didn't fit. So we branched off on our own. So about 2000, and I say we because my partner, Susan, who's also, I get to be her husband. So that's pretty cool. But she's a co-founder as well with Emergo Academy. And so we, over the last 11 or 12 years, we've worked with over 2,000 clients and families in a private residential setting. And with COVID, that caused us to have to shut down, and we retooled. And coming out of that, about a year ago, we went, you know what? I want to work with larger numbers. I mean, we had a team of 27 or 28 at one point. And, we would take up to 12 clients, anywhere from 4 to 12 clients. And it was a wonderful run, but I want to impact more people. So we've created a community, meetups, free things. We got a recovery club. We have a coaches club. We have a masters club. We have a whole community for people to either get help for themselves or to create a profession in this that can be an incredible profession.
Now, do you got a goal number of people that you want to help? Is there a goal that you want to reach?
Well, we debate that here. My first number is 1 million people.
Oh,
I want to reach, and I want to help 1 million people. And one of the ways to do that is to I guess, create a larger impact than a few of us teaching this actualized recovery, which is over here. Whoop, that side over here, actualized recovery. Got the mirror going on. And the book Actualized Recovery is the methodology. And through that, we're going to train over the next 3 years, 1,000 coaches and give them the business opportunity and the business background to impact 1,000 clients, which is more than 1 million people. So that's our goal in 3 years, is to, when you break that number down, 1 million sounds ridiculous, but when you break it down to training and certifying, and we have an international certification to be a recovery and crisis coach. And then we have a year-long program to support them and build their network and build their client base. And ultimately, then through our coaches, our network of coaches, the opportunity to impact 1 million people. And boy, the world needs this more than ever. And unfortunately, statistics show us that mental health issues and recovery issues and addiction issues, behavioral issues are only going to continue to grow.
Did you ever think that you would be doing this?
No. I had no idea I was going to get into neuroscience. I had no idea I was going to get into the world of addictions and recovery. But as I look back, I see the building blocks. I see how things that I did in my life through learning, through experiential, through failure, through a very dark period of my life in the 20s and in the 1980s. I've got experience. I've got lived experience. I've got the scars, but I also have the knowledge. I have the education and the experience of the wisdom and then when you bring all this together from a new paradigm, the paradigm of a teacher, somebody who can educate and teach others about and can grasp concepts in psychology and neuroscience and combine them and begin to create a new approach here. That's with actualized recovery up here, that's phenomenal. So no, when I was when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was play sports. When I was a teenager and in my younger years, that's all I wanted to do. So the idea of excelling in an academic environment, let alone recovery and addictions and well-being and helping people thrive, it's not a reach, but it wasn't something that I planned on.
So I got to ask you this: was you good at sports?
Well, I was okay. Through high school, I ended up, either a captain or an associate captain of most every team, and then played some junior hockey in Canada. I ended up with a scholarship in the NCAA Division I in the U.S., and I was okay. I ended up having more fun and not having focus on school and my athletics as well. Those things suffered. That was kind of the first time in my life where I had a lot of freedom. And I let's just say I have a lot of learned life experiences through all that.
Now, and how can people change their brain? What are the steps to it?
Well, it's actually pretty easy. But there's a problem with it in that it's a double-edged sword. So if you could change your brain in a positive way and have a positive outcome, well, then you can hurt your brain or change it in a negative way and you have a negative outcome. And both are true. So that's really important to understand and what you have today is not what you have to have tomorrow. So if you've lived a life of alcohol or whatever that is, that's okay. What you have today, you can change and improve and improve the quality of life. So there's one foundation piece that everybody needs to get. Neuroscience and psychology differ in most areas and most thoughts, but they come together in this one. And this one area is that the brain drives behavior. Okay, so if the brain drives behavior, the next question is, well, what the heck's a behavior? What does that mean? Well, behavior is our choices, is what we do. It's an action. It's not my thoughts. Those are just thoughts. It's my choices. Do I eat the ice cream? Don't I? Do I drink the tequila? Do I go, do I do something, go to yoga class? Those are choices. And the brain drives that. Am I in debt? Do I have abundance? My friends, what I choose to eat, my sleep routine. All of this is driven, all of these choices in our life, everything in our lives, including our autonomic nervous system. So our digestion and our bathroom trips, all of this is driven by the brain. And we have the ability to positively change the brain through something called neuroplasticity. Which means the brain's plastic. It's not, well, we talked about Back to the Future. You remember Nancy Reagan and the commercials with the egg in the fry pan? Remember those?
Yeah.
And this is your brain, a hot cast iron fry pan. Somebody drop an egg in it and it sizzle. That's your brain on drugs. Well, yes and no. Because what the belief was, and it wasn't just her, what the scientific belief was, what you had, and if you damaged it, it was gone forever. No. In the 1960s, a scientist by the name of Marion Diamond from California, she's a PhD, and was the first one credited with figuring out that when you live in an enriched environment, your brain actually grows. Think of this. When you lived in an enriched environment, your brain grows. When you live in an impoverished environment, your brain shrinks. The result is a really dramatic impact on our lives. So we can create an enriched environment in our lives and do some things that then our brain thrives and then it helps us.
How about that? Now, what kind of addictions do you work with? Is it just alcohol addictions? Or is it?
We've worked with everything, opioids, pharmaceuticals and opioids and you name it, meth. We've worked with some people with some of the hardest things, cocaine, so the party drugs and ketamines. We've actually had a lot of people that come to us who have tried the hallucinogens and had some really, really negative effects, both temporary in the short term and long term. It doesn't, by the way, a hallucinogen does not do the brain well. Neither does a glass of red wine, despite the marketing. where alcohol is not a friend of the brain. And so it really doesn't matter, but it goes beyond a substance, Jacob. It really does. The foundation of all of this goes well beyond that, because people can do a behavior and create the same amount of wreckage in their life. Gambling, shopping, porn. I'm not consuming anything except a behavior. I'm doing something. And I can become so addicted to it that I ruin my life and ruin my relationships, ruin my finance, ruin my health. There's nothing different. And so the solution is the same. We have to go through the same process, whether it's a behavior or whether it's a substance. It doesn't matter. This is about helping people put their life back together so they can become extraordinary and their gifts can shine.
Now, somebody's going through an addiction, and what are the steps to try to get them away from that problem?
Well, it's interesting you say steps, because the book and all of our work talks about actualized recovery. It's not about 12 steps.
Oh, yeah.
Recovery is a brain thing. So the process to that, if I can use that word, the process to that is really individual. I mean, you got to understand what you're doing, and this is an individual thing. Family can't make me do it. My boss can't make me do it. These are things that become very personal. So it starts with number one thing. I'm going to blow the myth up. I'm not powerless over anything. You're not powerless. And whoever else is listening to us out there, you are not powerless. Now, that goes against addiction training and teaching in AA. Well, I want to pull that apart a little bit and explain why you are powerful. And I like to give people their power back. You have power in choice. Well, what that means is, maybe if I have a line of cocaine or have a shot of tequila, all right, I'm powerless. I walk in, I'm a recovered gambler, and I walk in after 5 years, and I walk into the table and I put my first bet down. Horse is out of the barn. I get that. Okay, choice is gone there because now I'm in the moment and my brain has been hijacked. Fine, but let's back up. Let's back up to a month before when you decided to go to Vegas. Let's back up to 5 o'clock when you left work on Friday and you turned right and headed to your favorite old watering hole to meet the boys, versus turning left and going to the gym or going home. Those are the points where we have choice. Now, understand that once we begin a behavior or a pattern or a substance, that's pretty tough. But if you back up far enough, there is choice. So number one thing is people understanding you're not powerless, and I want to give everybody their power back. And through that, I am no longer a victim. Victims don't believe they have choice. Heroes and autonomous, independent people know we have choice. Cigarette smokers have very little choice because their brain has been hooked and addicted by chemicals. And I won't get into it, but it's more than nicotine. There's something called acetaldehyde that they add into it, and rats like that more than cocaine. They'll actually chew their leg off for the chemicals that are added into cigarettes. And so our brain is hijacked. Well, you've got to do some things, and some of those things, regardless of what we're talking about, go into physiological. You've got to take care of your body first. You got to change your sleep patterns. You got to change your eating patterns, breathing. Physiological changes will change your brain. And then there's some psychology. We believe in positive psychology. And we can get into that. Strengths-based. What are your strengths? And then spiritual, and then life, and then connections, your relationships. Who are your relationships? And also your lifestyle. And lifestyle is about lasting recovery.
Now, and why do you think these people get addicted to these types of stuff? Do you think it's something that happens in their childhood that kind of leads to that, or?
Well, I'll blow up a couple other myths. It's not genetics. Okay, so let's get that straight right now. It has been proven in science it is not genetics, and it is not a result because my dad was an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic. No, what could happen though? You certainly have a great propensity of abusing substances because you are looking for a way to soothe yourself because you've gone through multiple traumas. So what's the root cause behind this? What's the commonality is pain or trauma. And people are looking for whether they use a substance or whether they use a behavior, they're looking for a way to soothe themselves, to self-medicate themselves, to feel better in the short term, despite long-term consequences. So what's underneath all of this is pain, maybe some fear and trauma. So that's really at the core of where we work.
Now, with all the people that you've worked with, can you give us a percentage of how many people that you actually have get through their addiction and they haven't went back to it?
We had a study done a number of years ago from somebody, we call it the GANS study. Roger Gans, a PhD in the United States in New York at the time, and he looked at that. And a neat thing, there's a neat number. When he looked at that, 30 days to a year out, we had an 87% success rate defined by the family member and defined by the individual. Now, there's some flaws in the study. It's not a double-blind study. This is a survey study, and so we have to all we can do is follow the responses by the family members or the individual themselves. Now, the neat thing is most people who want to complain actually submit things, and people who are doing well usually don't submit things. So to get an 87% number, we're pretty happy with that. Here's an interesting thing. Dr. Gans phoned me and said, I think the study's flawed. Why is it flawed? He said, because a year out compared to 30 days. So we got 30 days at 87%. A year out, you went up to 91%. He said, that's flawed. I said, why is it flawed? He said, well, in human development, things don't go up, things go down. I started to laugh and chuckle. I said, except for you're forgetting something called neuroscience, something called Hebb's Law. And he said, tell me more. So Hebb's Law is the theory and the science and the practice where the more neurons fire, the stronger they wire, which is a habit, Jacob. That's how habits are formed. Habits are formed by the more we do something, the more the neurons fire and the stronger they connect. So they're like a little baby thread and they're weak when we first start, like riding a bike. And then one day when we ride a bike enough, those habits form in our brain and they're locked in forever. So the more we do something, such as the more we live a healthy lifestyle, the easier it becomes in time, and thus the better our lives become. So it really goes down to that.
Now, I guess the next question would be, and how do we get kind of put these old habits away and kind of focus on a comeback? And how do we make the old habits go away and try to get on a new road to recovery?
Well, that's a long question, and come to Emergo Academy and join one of our groups or one of our clubs, because we can't cover that in a podcast, but I can certainly give a couple tips to help people today, which I like to do. And one of those things is understand everybody we've ever worked with, their itty bitty shitty committee in their brain, the automatic negative thoughts happen, and usually people like this beat themselves up more than anybody beats them up. So they feel the pain, they feel the hurt, they feel the rejection, they feel the shame. Shame is a huge thing, and this is I'm talking about a shame-free approach. So the nervous system is a one-way highway, Jacob. The example here is you cannot feel joy and fear simultaneously. You can feel them pretty quickly, but you can't feel them simultaneously. You can't feel anger and happiness simultaneously. They can switch very quickly, but the nervous system can only process one thing at a time. And so if my automatic negative thoughts, by the way, I got to give credit to Dr. Daniel Amen. This is part of his teaching that I learned. He calls them ants, automatic negative thoughts. The first thing you have to do is you got to crush the ant. So if you have an automatic negative thought, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too broke, I'm a loser, no one loves me. First thing you got to do is crush that automatic negative thought. Stomp on it and say, no. Then you got to question it. Is that true? Have I ever had money? Well, yeah. Is it possible that I can lose weight and get fit? Yeah. Okay. And when those answers begin to go, okay, now immediately what you need to do is replace that with gratitude. Think of this for a minute. What are you grateful for? And when you talk about gratitude, be specific. I'm grateful for my family. Forget that. Don't do that. Be specific. I am grateful for my golden retriever, Gracie, because she crawls up and gives me the best hugs every morning. So I'm being specific and I'm saying why I'm grateful for her. And the whole time I'm doing that, the ant has gone away. It is impossible to be in a state of gratitude, even considering what I'm grateful for, and to have this automatic negative thought running through my brain. So it's a neat thing. And I'll give you one more, Jacob. Can I help people with sleep?
Yeah.
So this is Susan's. Now I got to source all this stuff. This is Susan's. She created this is the gratitude alphabet. If you have a hard time at night, because a lot of these negative thoughts happen at night, if you have a hard time at night sleeping, go through the gratitude alphabet. In other words, think of something you're grateful for, starting with the letter A, apples. B, balls. C, keep going down that list, cookies. D, dogs. Okay, and as you go through that, as you're searching, sometimes like E is difficult, but because it starts with a vowel. But the point is, as you're searching for something you're grateful for, you've shut down the ants, you've shut down the negative talk, and you've changed how your brain is thinking as you go to sleep. You're thinking of things you're grateful for. If, by the way, you get to the end of the alphabet and you're still awake, do it again. But now everything has to be different. So you don't get to say apples for A anymore. That's the gratitude alphabet. I tell you that has worked with hundreds and hundreds of people that we've trained in this. And it really helps people quiet the itty bitty shitty committee and really lean into the place of gratitude and better sleep.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good method, by the way.
All right, you can give it a shot. Let me know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, and how do you find the word? And how do you define? I guess it's leadership. And how do you define that?
Leadership?
Yeah.
Well, leadership is easy. Leadership is I believe leadership is doing, not telling. I believe great leaders ask questions, don't tell. And so this really is, living. I'm in the world of recovery. This is me living recovery. That's the first step I have to do before I can take it to anybody. And, if you're in finance, you better not be in bankruptcy and in great debt if you're giving people financial leadership advice. So the first thing you got to do is be able to live it. And then the second thing is leaders, real deep leaders like coaches. The best coaches don't tell anybody anything. The best coaches understand, I don't have the answers for you, Jacob. I don't have the answers for you, Sally out there or Bill out there. I don't have those answers. What I need to do as a leader in the field of recovery is listen to you, ask deep, provocative questions, and follow where you're going. And then I marry that over to your goals. You've told me your goals and aspirations and your values, and do those things align. So at times, a leader, especially in the world of recovery, helps me be able to. It's kind of a mirror. You hold it up without judgment, and you allow people the room to make and the safety to make decisions for themselves. But you do that through the power of question, not from knowledge and telling.
All right. Now with this interview, I didn't know nothing about you. So the person I was in contact with, they sent me some key points to ask.
Go for it. By the way, if you want to go off the, if you think of something, bring it on, Jacob. Let's do this.
So, and one of the key topics is, I want you to explain this one. One of the topics is, and why did the horse leave the barn in December to need to recover in January?
Say that again. Why did the horse need to leave the barn?
Yeah, why did the horse need to leave the barn in December to need to recover in January?
Well, first of all, I think what you're referring to is the thing right now in public of dry January. And dry January is a month on the calendar where I think it's a fad thing right now. it's like everybody waiting to New Year's to make a resolution. Why do you have to wait to New Year's to make a resolution? Like, if you want to change something in your life and it's September or October or July, make the change. I mean, stick your flag in the ground and say, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the gym 30 days into the next 30 days. Why do you have to wait to January? So that's the same thought, first of all. But if dry January, if that helps people, I guess what it is for people who may have felt that the holiday season things got a little out of control, and maybe they want to detox their body, maybe they want to see what happens. And there's some really interesting things that happen physiologically in the body, especially if we stop drinking alcohol for 30 days. Your sleep will improve, your skin will improve, your foggy brain will go away. Yes, you'll have no more hangovers, but I mean, beyond that is that that foggy brain will go away, and I'll be able to be sharper and clearer. My emotions will level. I'll stop being so peak and valley. I'll have more control over my emotional being and who I am and my choices. Typically your relationships will actually improve. You may think you're more fun when you've been drinking, but in the long term, you're hurting relationships. So I applaud anybody who wants to do dry January, but do dry February, do dry March. Give it a shot.
Now, and what does it mean to be? What does it mean when it's 90% hard and 100% a breeze?
Oh, that's easy. It is. It's when I make a commitment. When anybody makes a commitment, full on commitment, 100% is easier than 95%. Meaning, not eating sweets, let's say I'm not going to eat a dessert after 7:00 at night. Well, and I go 10 nights, and then at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, I have some ice cream in that. My body doesn't understand the rational part of my brain. My brain's made excuses for me to, heck, it's been 10 days, 20 days. I can have some ice cream tonight. But my body doesn't understand that. And what you're doing now is you're clicking on the body to crave some substances and things that now, your brain may or may not accept that. So 100% is always easier than 95. And I mean, think of it in relationships. Think of it in marriages. Being in 100% in a marriage, 100% in a job is a lot easier than 90%.
So I guess, that kind of goes along when it says January is when the party stops. And what are you going to do for fun?
Well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
But my question to people is, when you're 8 years old, 10 years old, what did you like to do? Pre-phones, pre-media, pre-social media. What did you like to do? I like to dance. I like to swim. Well, go do that and see what happens. And there's so many times people come back and go, oh my God, I forgot how amazing that is. If you like curling, go curling. Like the list is, you like outdoors, get your rear end outdoors. But that's not up to me to decide what that is. That's up to you to figure out what that is. If you like community, find a community, create a community. So if whatever brings you joy, whatever brings you fun and joy and a smile on your face and inside in your spirit, you're driving home thinking, God, I had a heck of a great time. Go do that.
Now, and what does alcohol do to our brain?
Oh, I wish I could show you a couple images, but if you're interested in that, go to the Amen Clinics, AMEN clinics.com. They have SPECT imaging. So they have about a $5 million machine. And it's kind of like it takes a 3D image or picture of the brain, and you'll begin to see that areas of the brain just are not functioning, meaning there's no blood flow, there's no activity. And this actually happens quite quickly and gets pretty severe over time. So if you want to see what a brain looks like on marijuana, which by the way is not healthy again, cocaine, anything, you want to see what a substance does to the brain and what substances help a brain Water, fantastic for the brain. The power drinks in the morning, the Red Bull drinks in the morning are brutal on a brain, just terrible on a brain. But they, for a short period of time, do what's advertised. They make you over alert. So if you want to solve that, I would talk about lifestyle stuff. But overall, alcohol is not a substance where the brain likes it. It actually hurts the brain. It shrinks a brain. Think of that.
Oh,
Who
wow.
wants something smaller? Yeah, hint, hint. You want bigger. You actually want to have the biggest brain in the room. Well, alcohol actually creates a shrinkage in the brain as well as damages brain function. So there's been some other studies that link alcohol consumption to recent studies to dementia and Alzheimer's, and that's a pretty scary thing. Especially as our in the Western world, as we all age more, dementia and Alzheimer's are becoming more and more critical.
And can you tell us about your book?
Love to tell you about the book. The book is out. Over there. I got the thing. It's like papers are falling out. We're just finishing our last round of edits, and the edits will be in the next few days. And then we go to layout, and the book will be out in February. It's called Actualized Recovery. It's recovery. It's not about 12 steps. Recovery is a brain thing. Actualized recovery. It's not about 12 steps. Recovery is a brain thing. And so I want to address that, Jacob, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Certainly there's a direct mention of any 12-step program, AA, NA, CA, whatever it is. There's a direct mention of that. I want to mention that Bill W. and his group in the 1930s, did a heck of a job in creating, in Akron, Ohio, creating a group and they ended up calling it Alcoholics Anonymous. By 1940, they created the 12 steps. By the late 40s, they created an international board to run the thing. They did a heck of a job, but it's fair to say that technology and advancements in neuroscience and brain imaging, food sciences have gone light years beyond that. So what the strengths of AA are community, which we believe in connection. Johann Hari writes about this. The opposite of sobriety is connections. And it's not about, he says it's not about sobriety, it's about connections. Excuse me, I've got to get the quote right. And community and connections are very, very important. So that's a good thing. But they really don't understand because the science hadn't adopted any of this until the decade of the 90s, which was the decade of the brain. All of the knowledge about neuroscience and how addictions is driven by the brain. So there's a couple directions here. In medicine, they talk about the brain disease and that being addiction. In psychiatry, psychology, they talk about it being a brain disorder. It's in the DSM-5 as a disorder. So I don't care if it's a disease or a disorder. I don't care. They both agree it's a brain issue. Well, that's what we do with this book. We're taking the best of what has been used out there in the past, and now we're adding all of the new science, neuroscience and psychology. And if it's about the brain, let's change and fix a brain. And by the result, our behaviors, our choices, our patterns, our relationships, our wealth will all improve. It's a very, very powerful read.
And where can people get it when it's released?
It'll be released in February on Amazon, but also we've got early copies for sale. And actually, we're giving away free copies. So if you join one of our, like the Recovery Club, if you join that, you get a copy of the book for free. You just pay for shipping and handling. Like, that's how much I want to help the world. So we'll cover all the printing costs and all that. We just ask for people to pay for the shipping. So when you join one of our clubs, that's included as one of the gifts that we give you just to help you on your journey of recovery.
All right. And where can people find Emergo Academy on social media?
Right there. Well, really, the main place is emergoacademy.com. So it's EMERGO academy.com. And just of note, emergo is a Latin word, and it means to emerge or to rise above, which we want everybody to do. We want you to rise above your current status, and we want to give you hope, because there is hope. So Emergo, Emergo, EmergoAcademy.com is the best place, but you can also find us on Facebook as well.
All right. Before we go, what to ask all my guests, that comes on here, have they got a closing thought for the people that's tuning into the podcast?
There's hope. I don't care what's happening in your life. There's a lot of people out there, Jacob, some people are doing okay, but believe that could be more. There are some people who the repetitive pattern, they start a new job and a year later are gone, or 3 years later are gone, and they're just spinning their wheels. Today's with inflation and all the other challenges in the world, there's a lot of pressure on people. There is hope. There is a future. It does. I believe it all starts with our interpersonal growth, which is a brain first approach. And when you begin to live a brain healthy lifestyle, which is easy, this isn't like drinking water is not hard. And yet people go, oh my God, the sacrifices. No, actually living this lifestyle, there is greater freedom than there is by being stuck in a behavior or an addiction. That's jail. That is tough. And that is it steals years from your life. It steals relationships. It steals opportunity. What I am presenting to people with actualized recovery is greater freedom in your life. So please come and check us out at EmergoAcademy.com. Join. We've got free things. We got a 5-day challenge. It's free. We have free meetups every week. Then we've got a recovery club for a whopping $47 investment. So we have done everything we can to make this feasible and affordable for people to come and pick up your free copy of the book.
Oh, Dave, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast to talk about Emergo Academy, which I really enjoyed it.
Jacob, I love chatting with you and all of your Elvis swag. I'm a big Elvis guy, so I like that. I guess that comes with the old school. So thanks very much for visiting, and I really thank anybody who's listening. And if you want to learn more, again, please hit us up at EmergoAcademy.com.
All right. And that wraps it up for this week of Conversations with Jacob. Tune in next Monday for another episode. Until then, God bless, and we'll catch you guys next Monday.